We see Batman as, a crime fighter, a detective, a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we saw him as something else? Like maybe a map of the human soul?
That's a fascinating way to put it.
Yeah, today we're doing a deep dive into why Carl Jung, the brilliant psychoanalyst, might have looked at Batman not just as a comic book character, but maybe as one of the most complete modern myths we actually have.
Exactly. And we're digging into some of his core ideas here, things from his collected works, Man and His Symbols, the foundational stuff.
Right.
Because when you look at it through that Jungian lens, Batman's whole story, it really does feel like this huge externalized battle.
A battle within himself.
Precisely, a projection of the fundamental parts of his own psyche.
Yeah.
And Jung gave us the terms for these parts, didn't he? The persona, the shadow, the anima.
And the self. That's the big one.
But this is the goal, yeah. And these aren't just like personality quirks. Jung saw them as archetypes.
Okay, archetypes. So universal patterns.
Universal inborn patterns residing in what he called the collective unconscious. It's like this shared psychic foundation we all have, influencing how we see everything.
Okay, wow. So let's unpack that map of the soul then. Where do we even begin? Okay, talks about the persona first, usually.
Yeah, the persona. It's a good starting point.
What exactly is it? And how does, Bruce Wayne fit in? The face he shows everyone.
Right. So the persona is basically the social mask we all wear. It's the curated identity, the face we present to the public, at work, in different situations. It's actually a necessary thing, Jung thought, part of our psychic structure for navigating the world.
Okay.
Now think about Bruce Wayne, that whole billionaire playboy act.
Yeah, it seems so over the top sometimes.
It is, and that's the point. It's a deliberate construction, almost exaggerated, like you said.
Why, though? Just to party?
No. It's functional. It's designed to hide the real person underneath the wounded man, the one with this intense singular mission. It deflects suspicion, protects his secret identity.
So it lets Batman operate.
Exactly. It's the ultimate functional mask. A necessary facade, really, allowing the hidden work, the real work, to continue unnoticed. It's, a psychologically brilliant use of the persona, even if it's costly for him personally.
Okay, so Bruce Wayne, the playboy, that's the mask. That's the persona. Then Batman. He feels like the total opposite. Something hidden, dark, maybe even something Bruce himself might fear initially. Is that the shadow?
Absolutely. You've nailed it. If the persona is the public face, the bright side we show, the shadow is kind of its opposite. It's the unconscious part.
The dark side.
Yeah, often called the dark side. It holds everything we repress or deny about ourselves, our fears, our primal anger, raw instincts, the stuff society, or even just we, decide isn't acceptable.
Okay.
And Jung's big point here was crucial. You don't destroy the shadow. You can't, really. You have to face it. Confront it, understand it, and integrate it.
Integrate it. How does that work?
Well, look at Batman. He's maybe one of the best examples in modern stories. Think about the bats.
The childhood trauma, right, falling into the cave.
Exactly. Terrified him. But does Bruce Wayne spend his life avoiding bats? No. He becomes the bat. That's integration.
Wow, okay.
And the rage, the trauma from his parents' murder. He doesn't let it consume him or just, lash out blindly. He channels it. He disciplines it. He turns it into this focused, driving force as Batman.
So Batman isn't just his dark side running wild.
Not at all. He's Bruce's shadow, yes, but it's a shadow that's been faced, acknowledged, owned, and then put to work for a purpose. And it fits Jung's model, too. The shadow often shows up as a figure of the same sex. Batman for Bruce.
Right.
The insight here is pretty profound, I think. Our deepest fears, our darkest impulses, they don't just have to be liabilities. If you face them, they can actually become sources of incredible focused strengths.
Turning the trauma into a tool.
Precisely. A tactical advantage, even, by embracing the shadow.
That's powerful, taking the source of his fear and pain and making it his identity, his strength. But what about his relationships? They always seem so messy.
Yes, they do. Complicated is an understatement.
Especially with characters like Catwoman or Talia al Ghul. How does Jungian thought explain that part of the map?
That brings us neatly to the anima.
The anima, okay.
So, for a man, Jung described the anima as the unconscious feminine archetype living within his psyche. It's like an inner feminine image or principle.
And that affects his relationships with actual women.
Hugely. It shapes his understanding of women, his expectations, his attractions, and it's really vital for feeling psychologically complete. Often this inner image gets projected outwards.
Projected onto women like Catwoman.
Exactly. Characters like Selena Kyle or Talia, They become these fascinating screens onto which Bruce projects aspects of his own soul, parts he struggles with, maybe doesn't understand or needs to integrate.
So Catwoman isn't just a love interest.
Far more than that from this perspective. Think about her. She embodies duality, doesn't she?
Yeah, she operates in the shadows like him, but her morals are flexible. Sometimes an ally, sometimes not. Chaos and order all mixed up.
Right. She perfectly mirrors his own internal battle. That tightrope walk between his controlled Bruce Wayne persona and his powerful Batman shadow. Between justice and breaking the law to get it.
So his relationship with her is really about him figuring himself out.
It's a huge part of it. It's this constant, often really turbulent dance. He's trying to understand and maybe integrate this vital, sometimes mysterious, feminine aspect of his own psyche through her. The anima can be a guide, Jung thought, a mediator to the deeper unconscious, towards the self.
A guide, even if the relationship is destructive.
It can be. Jung noted that anything the anima touches tends to feel numinous.
Numinous, like charged.
Exactly, charged with intense emotional or psychological meaning. It can feel unconditional, fated, dangerous, even magical. That incredibly strong pull, that almost obsessive connection he has with Catwoman.
Yeah.
That feels very much like the powerful, sometimes perilous energy of an anima projection. It really highlights how our own unresolved inner stuff can make our real-world relationships incredibly complex and intense.
Okay, so we've got the public Bruce Wayne persona, the embraced Batman shadow, these really complex relationships, maybe reflecting his anima. It sounds like a psyche pulled in a lot of different directions, fragmented almost.
It definitely can seem that way.
Does his journey through all the comics and movies ever lead to wholeness? Does Bruce or Batman ever find real peace, integration?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it moves us beyond just identifying the parts to looking at the whole process. Jung called this lifelong journey individuation.
Individuation.
Okay.
Heard that term. It's not about just fixing problems.
No, it's much bigger than that. It's the natural inherent drive in all of us, Jung believed, towards becoming a complete, unified individual, integrating all the pieces, conscious, unconscious, light, dark. The goal isn't perfection, it's wholeness.
Reaching towards the self.
Exactly. The self, for Jung, is that center, the psychic totality of a person, holding and harmonizing all the opposites within us.
So how does Batman's story fit that? Is he individuating?
I think you can absolutely read his arc that way. Look at early Batman. He's almost purely shadow-driven, right?
Yeah, raw vengeance, fueled by the trauma.
Very raw, very unresolved, almost like a more primitive stage of the hero archetype, maybe even a bit childish in its singular focus on revenge.
But he changes over time.
Profoundly, especially when you look at the development of the Bat family.
And Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Oracle.
All of them. This isn't just about getting back up. It's a huge psychological step. He moves from being this isolated loner towards building a community, sharing the mission, sharing the burden.
And becoming a father figure in a way.
Absolutely crucial. He's stepping into that role. Think about what that means. He's connecting his own wounded, orphaned inner child with a mature, protective identity. He's integrating those parts. It's a move away from just the lone shadow avenger towards something more complex, more socially connected.
So the ultimate goal would be what? For Bruce and Batman to merge.
From a Jungian standpoint, yeah. The goal isn't to kill off Bruce Wayne or hang up the cowl forever. It's for the persona and the shadow, Bruce and Batman, to become integrated aspects of one complete self. Not two separate modes, but a unified whole.
Does he ever get there?
Fully. Well, that's the thing. The sources we looked at, Jung's own writings, they suggest that perfect unity of consciousness isn't really a static state you achieve and then you're done. It's more like a desideratum.
A desideratum, meaning?
Something deeply desired, something you constantly strive for, but maybe never perfectly, permanently attain. The psyche, Jung said, can feel like a boiling cauldron of contradictory impulses.
Huh. Sounds about right.
Doesn't it? So it implies Batman's struggle, both in Gotham and inside himself, isn't a story with a neat ending where he finds eternal peace. It's perpetual. It's ongoing.
And maybe that's why he's so relatable. Because that struggle feels real.
I think that's exactly it. That constant striving, that never-ending internal battle to reconcile these powerful conflicting forces, that's incredibly human. He embodies our struggle. The self, that symbol of wholeness like the mandala, can contain what Jung called a complexio oppositorum, a complex of opposites. It holds the tension.
This is really fascinating, taking this, 80-year-old character from comics and using him to explore these incredibly deep psychological ideas.
It maps surprisingly well, doesn't it?
It really does. But okay, let's bring it home. How does this analysis connect with us, with you, listening right now today? We're not billionaires dressing up as bats, fighting supervillains.
Not right.
So what's the relevance for everyday life?
But that's where it gets really powerful, I think. Batman's story hits so hard across decades, across cultures, because it's not just about him, it's a myth, and myths act like mirrors.
Mirrors for our own inner world.
Exactly. Think about it. We all wear a persona, don't we?
Yeah, the work self, the family self.
Your carefully curated Instagram self.
Definitely that one.
Right. And we all have a shadow, those fears we don't want to admit to, insecurities, maybe parts of our ambition or anger that we've learned to hide, even from ourselves. Society tells us to push them down. And we all struggle, just like Bruce Wayne, maybe less dramatically, but we struggle to integrate these different roles, these conflicting feelings, these hidden bits of ourselves. We're all trying to find some kind of internal balance, that elusive feeling of being whole, authentic.
So Batman's fight is our fight, just on a bigger stage.
That's how I see it. His epic struggle against the darkness in Gotham and the darkness inside him, it's like a high-stakes allegory for this universal human journey. His fight to face his own trauma, his own shadow aspects, and not just be crushed by them, but to channel them into something purposeful that reflects our own potential.
Our potential to face our own stuff and use it.
Exactly. To work towards becoming a more whole, more authentic version of ourselves. Jung pointed out that even though the old gods might be in museums, the ancient archetypes they represented, they're still very much alive within us. We haven't magically evolved beyond our fundamental human nature, our complex inner landscapes.
We're still grappling with the same core issues.
We are, and Batman's endless battle serves as this potent reminder that the inner work, facing ourselves, it's ongoing. It's just as relevant for you today as it was for heroes in ancient myths.
Wow. So in the end, the Dark Knight of Gotham, he might actually be one of the brightest lights for helping us understand ourselves.
Precisely. It's a fantastic paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think of Gotham City for a moment. Don't just picture the buildings and streets. Picture it as the landscape of the unconscious mind itself.
Okay. Vast, dark, unpredictable.
Filled with these monstrous projections of our collective fears, our anxieties, our unresolved societal issues made manifest.
Like the villains.
Exactly. And Batman, cloaked in the very darkness he inhabits. He's that solitary, maybe lonely, but incredibly courageous figure who dares to descend into that inner darkness.
Voluntarily goes into the scary places.
Yes. And he goes there not just to fight the external monsters, the villains who are often just projections, but ultimately to grapple with and find himself within that darkness. His entire story becomes this powerful testament to a core Jungian idea. The contents of our shadow, our deepest fears, our repressed anger, our hidden vulnerabilities, they don't actually have to destroy us.
Even though we might fear they will.
Right, because if we can find the courage, muster the conscious effort to actually face them, to bring them out of the shadows and into the light of our awareness, they might just be the unexpected source of our greatest strength, our deepest purpose.
Turning poison into medicine almost.
That's a good way to put it. The real reason Carl Jung, I suspect, would have been absolutely captivated by Batman is that he serves as this compelling modern myth reminding us of something fundamental, achieving psychological wholeness, becoming truly ourselves. It isn't about ignoring the darkness, pretending it doesn't exist, or only focusing on the positive.
It's not just looking into the light.
No. It is precisely by making the darkness conscious, by wrestling with our shadow, by integrating all those hidden, messy, powerful parts of ourselves, that we truly begin that journey towards becoming whole.
A powerful thought to end on.
Maybe something for you to think about. What parts of your own inner Gotham, your own unconscious landscape, are you perhaps avoiding?
Yeah.
What might happen if you dared to explore them?